a lot of people know exactly what they want and what layout works for them. And I like that. I respect that. A lot of this job, I don't think people realize, especially if they're just getting into interior design, psychology is a huge part of this job.
Welcome to the Home Show, where we sit down with builders, designers, and real estate professionals shaping the spaces we call home. I'm your host, Oscar Michaels, founder of hOMe Media. And in each episode, we dive into the stories behind the brands, the strategies behind the success, and the marketing moves that help these local leaders stand out. From concept to completion, from startup to legacy, this is where real conversations happen. Welcome, Allison Morgan from Outside Interiors. Excited to have you here. We've been working together for quite a while now, and you drove all the way here from Cape May, and I really appreciate that in the tornado potential warning here. This is episode 8 of our podcast season 1. I'm excited to have you on for. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are, where you came from, like where you grew up and stuff like that.
Well, like you said, I'm Allison, and I grew up just outside of Detroit, kind of born and raised. And after I went to school in Chicago, I moved to London and lived there for most of my 20s. And then I came back to the States when I was 27. Started getting into interior design once I came back to the States. I had always worked in marketing and branding while I was in the UK, and that's what I went to school for. I went to Loyola University of Chicago. And so I actually got my degree in communications and a minor in international marketing, which is interesting because a lot of those things actually kind of parlay into the design world pretty easily, or interior design and working with clients. But once I moved back to the States, I was working for a branding agency, and that was like right around 2008 when, the crash came. So they went out of business, and in order for me to pay rent, I got a job at a furniture store. So I started selling furniture and realized very quickly that I actually really liked it, and I was actually pretty decent at it. So at that point, I went back to school at Moore College of Art and Design, and then I got picked up by a firm and started working there.
Nice.
Kind of the short and quick.
Yeah. So you went to school for international marketing? I didn't know that. That's what I went to school for.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah. So I majored in that, and I minored in social media.
Well, you're using something at least.
Yeah, exactly. I was telling my mom the other day, like, I feel like I shouldn't have went to school. Like, I could have learned it all on YouTube, but, 2020 is hindsight.
Yeah. And I mean, I kind of felt the same about having a communications degree. And, obviously there's a little bit of an imposter syndrome feeling coming into the interior design world, because there is a lot of like very highly pedigreed people that come into this that, their family was in interior design and they go to the best schools and they get, the best degrees and MFAs and everything. But I've actually found that having more of a business background first has actually helped me much, much more. So in terms of organization and, setting things up and being very direct with communicating with clients, I almost ask my clients now the same questions I used to ask my branding clients. So, who's your target market?
Sure.
Who lives in your house?
Yep.
What is the area like around your business? It's kind of the same with a house. Is it at the beach? Is it inland?
Yep.
Because that changes how you kind of work on these projects.
Sure.
So while it seemed like a little bit of a waste of time, it actually, I think, helped. And also public speaking, I think, too.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Communications and marketing, and then being able to present yourself to clients. I think some of that stuff isn't necessarily taught in art school. So I guess it's a good thing at the end of the day.
Yeah. What do you like in art school and stuff, or interior design school? Like, what do they teach really? Like, is it like, do they teach like textiles and stuff, or like how to measure stuff, and like how does that work? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they teach textiles, color theory,
Okay.
AutoCAD, a lot of the nitty gritty, but I still feel like, and even speaking with people that have come into the field from a purely design background in school, you're really only going to learn probably 50% of the stuff on
Sure.
just doing the job.
Yeah.
Being on construction sites and dealing with clients, like there's just some stuff you can't teach. So you can learn, the very technical things.
Yeah,
but
of course.
past that, you just got to get into it and do it.
That's kind of how like I see school. Like I did a lot of business and stuff, and I know accounting like surface level and some statistics and how to forecast like certain numbers, and like so I know how my business is doing. But at the same time, it's like I want to be that creative, so it was like hard for me to like really enjoy doing it. I know it was like a good like ground setting for me, like to go to school. But the more I look back, I was like, man, I should have just YouTubed everything.
The university YouTube.
It's amazing, like what you can learn on there. And now, like with AI, there's just like so many.
Well,
Like,
everything's gonna change, especially I mean, for our industry as well as yours. I mean, that's gonna be
it already is like
yeah.
so much. It's crazy. Like this big thing now with AI, like a lot of our clients have been seeing and asking us for, which is awesome because it, puts money in our pocket because they don't know how to do it yet, or, there's not simplified software for them to do it. Is like that HGTV like thing where it like animates, drops in furniture and like certain colors and tech. Like that's so cool for them to show their clients. A lot in real estate, a lot for like builders that are like building a custom house or something. So we can take photos of like the framing work, like it'll be an empty construction site with just framing, no drywall or anything yet, and we can visualize like a full living room, family room, dining room.
Oh yeah.
It's crazy what
The
it's
whole
turning
field
into.
of doing renderings and that sort of thing, it's gonna go by the wayside,
For
it's
sure.
just and I'm definitely a slow adopter when it comes to AI, and I need to be better about it. I need to kind of educate myself because it's coming whether we want it to or not.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think there might be certain things that it could help with, but I think there's only ever going to be some things that a human can do or kind of, listen to the client and really understand and relay. Because a lot of AI depends on, direct commands. And I think
For sure.
sometimes clients don't even know what they want. So in that situation, I think AI is going to fall a little flat. You kind of still need that person in between that can listen to the client, kind of decipher what they're trying to get at and kind of pick up on other subtle cues as you're working with them and then kind of put that into AI to get them,
It's a
a
great
rendering
point.
of what they want.
I literally have a workshop like I'm working on right now for this summer to teach people local or wherever online how to prompt AI because that is the skill that people lack, but they need to get the results. Yeah, I mean it's gonna be cheap. It'll be like $25 to sign up, and it'll be an hour just class on just the basics. And like if it goes well, make another workshop. But we use it every single day, so I'm starting to learn like what prompts are beneficial versus like this AI doesn't pick up on that. So prompting the AI to get what you want is key. It's crucial. But to dive back into your story, so you ended up at a design firm, and then when did you start Outside Interiors? How did that kind of flow?
So I was at the design firm for 10 years and then 2020, obviously the world changed again. But I just, I think it was just getting to a point where I was just outgrowing working for someone else. So I decided to kind of take the leap, which I don't really advise doing. I mean, you did it as well, but starting starting a business in the middle of, a global epidemic, especially when you deal heavily with like shipping and supply chains, probably isn't the smartest move, but it put me in a really good position to, the upswing that we all experienced with real estate, new construction, renovation. Shortly thereafter, I was kind of already like hitting the ground running with that. So yeah, July of 2020 is when I started.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Look at you now. A little bit of luck, a little bit of blood, sweat, and tears, and
Yeah,
here we are.
a lot of working weekends. I feel like
Absolutely.
it's funny because it's I'm almost I guess 5.5 years on at this point. I feel like the last 4 months are really the first time I've been able to pick my head up and take weekends off and kind of get a little bit of a normal life back.
Sure.
It's been a solid 5 years of just.
They say it takes 5 years.
Oh, really?
Starting a business, those first 3 are like that's the make or break, and if you can do those last 2 and just kind of get everything situated, that's like I guess the norm. I don't know. That's what I've read.
But yeah, I mean, it's it's been nice to have a little, and everything's cyclical, and we're getting busy getting into Memorial Day because we're based at the shore, so that gets busy. But it was nice to finally have like a little bit of a break and
Yeah, I can only imagine.
get some sanity back.
You have a lot of like seasonality there too. So being in Cape May, so they're based in Cape May, and how does that like change or challenge your business? Like, is there any challenges based on the seasonality, or does that kind of give you like downtime to figure stuff out for the season that's upcoming?
It's interesting because when I first started working at the Jersey Shore, it was very much, houses were much simpler, in 2010, 2011, and, kind of back then. And so we're very strict, like knock down Labor Day, install Memorial Day. And that's what all the builders did. And you could get a house done in that time. And that was it, which made it very hectic because, then the month running up to Memorial Day was crazy because you had all these jobs you had to install. But then you had the summer, I wouldn't say off, but you're just dropping stuff off here and there. It wasn't a huge issue. And I feel like the last even before COVID, that changed because the houses have gotten bigger. They've gotten more complex. There's more technology. So, you can't do a 9-month build anymore. So now we're at a point where like schedules are shifting a little bit. And,
Sure.
I think it was last year I had like 4 installs in the fall and I had 2 in December, which was unheard of for me. So I think it's kind of all over the shop at this
Yeah.
point. And also we're getting more work, in Pennsylvania, North Jersey, down in Florida. So it's kind of pulling us in different directions and pulling us out of that like Labor Day to Memorial Day cycle, which is nice.
Sure.
Makes it a little bit more steady for us.
Yeah, it's got to be exciting too, like, because I feel like a lot of the short projects have a lot of similarities compared to like design wise.
Mhm.
Like with not, I don't want to say all the same colors because I feel like you do a really good job in like making the homes very different from each other.
Yeah.
They're very unique, and I really enjoy shooting them because I never know like what I'm gonna walk into. But just from the Jersey Shore standpoint, a lot of the people are like the blues, the whites,
navy
the
blue.
yeah, it's like
which is fine. It's classic. Like I'm not waiting on the navy blue, but
yeah, the nautical look.
Yeah.
But moving into like PA or Florida or North Jersey, I feel like you're going to see or start using more, skill sets that you haven't used to create these awesome designs and different probably like furniture vendors and stuff. You're probably going to use newer ones.
Different fabrics that you can't use at the beach, but you can use out here. So it's, and then there's a lot more traditional architecture out this way, which I personally love. I live in an old house myself. So even though we do a lot of modern, my heart kind of stays with the traditional, but yeah, I mean, it really depends. And I also feel like the last couple of years, and I don't know if it's just because of who we are as a firm, but we've been getting clients that are willing to kind of take a little bit of a diversion from that typical navy blue.
Sure.
We still have clients that want that, and that's great. And we love doing it. It's such a classic look. But I think the clients that we're getting now are a little bit more educated on design, and they kind of want to push boundaries a little bit more. Still have it very comfortable and family friendly, and not crazy expensive, but they're a little bit more willing to do some cool stuff. Whereas like 10 years ago, I would say that wasn't
a thing,
really the case. So
what are some of the biggest challenges like when working with clients, like in your target audience right now? Like what challenges do you run into when doing projects? I'm sure there's a slew of things, but what do you run into the most?
It's like, how long is a piece of string? I mean, it depends every project. It's like, the challenge could be the client's personality or indecisiveness. The challenge could be, the builder that you're working with. The challenge could be maybe the time frame that the job has. It's a lot of times we get brought in late because people kind of try to do it themselves, and then they realize that they're just treading water and not getting anything done. So then we get brought in. We kind of have to like quickly get things selected for them. So that can be a challenge. All of those reasons are why I like this job, because no 2 jobs are the same. And I'm somebody who when I've worked jobs that were the same thing every day, I got bored living here. And I've been doing this for almost 16 years now. So obviously, like, I'm not bored.
Hopefully not.
Sometimes I kind of wish I was a little bit more bored. When you have those like times with work where you're like, okay, I wish I could just sit in the office and go to the beach for the afternoon and hang out. But so it really depends. I would say this past year, a big thing has been budgets, with things like tariffs coming in, and, everybody's aware that they're around, but, then, I have to be the bearer of bad news to say kind of like, hey, there's an extra 10% off or 10% put on this because of XYZ. And it's something that I can help. It's nothing that the manufacturer can help. So, nobody likes getting that. So.
Yeah, we dealt with that a little bit with our like drones. I luckily ordered a few like before shit hit the fan with all the tariffs, but like the markup prices, we can't even buy from the company directly anymore here in the US because they're based in China. And like this whole thing with Trump and China is like just caused mayhem in that industry. And it's big. You wouldn't believe like what drones are used for, like police stuff, like finding missing people with infrared cameras. And they're like the best drones are made by this company. It's called DJI. Not just for like creative stuff, like people use it for agriculture. Like there's a lot of things that it's used for.
Surveying.
Yeah, just a ton of stuff, and they're expensive. They're like 30 G's for these like commercial grade drones. Yeah, so these tariffs were not like a light 10%. Like that sucks for the industry as a whole. A lot of like real estate photographers that were just getting into it didn't really have the budget to buy like the nice equipment. Now they have to like source it from Canada or Mexico or London, England, whatever. So like these tariffs just hurt everyone in that aspect, but. Luckily, I dodged a bullet and bought it.
Oh, you're smart.
I got a few beforehand. I didn't see it coming. I just, it was time to upgrade, luckily, and I did. So
Yeah.
we'll see how that goes moving forward. But yeah, I mean, I can imagine tariffs. I also feel like when I do big projects, like some of the challenges I run into are there's so many hands in the pot, like of what expectations are. So you'll have, like, for example, like the design team wants one thing, the builder wants another thing, the homeowner has an idea of like what the music should be, and like to take all those ideas and put them into one is just sometimes nearly impossible. I deal with it with real estate more because the homeowners are a little bit more hands-on because it's like an emotional sell for them.
Yeah.
Whereas like when someone's building a home, it's new to them, so there's not too much emotion tied yet. Sometimes, like some of the case, but like the design team obviously wants to market different features in the home than what the builder or the architect or whoever's the landscape designer is gonna, But I try and shoot all the footage, so I have a library worth of footage to kind of like cut up different sections.
Make everybody happy.
Exactly. And it might take me a little bit more time, but like the projects pay really well. So it's like, this makes sense to make everyone happy and just like, let me just shoot the whole house and then I can cut it up how I need it to for each specific client.
Sure.
So those are some of the challenges I feel like we run into, but I can't imagine what you guys run into between like the technology standpoint now is crazy.
Yeah.
Like the blinds, the lighting, all that stuff is just so complex.
Yeah.
And then I can imagine like the time delays that you have, like with, I don't even know, permits, install, things go wrong, like maybe, electric's in the wrong place for the bed or the outlets or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, that's small stuff. I mean, to me, that would be small stuff like an outlet, that sort of thing. And
Sure.
that we can fix. And I think, I'm very fortunate that, I've worked and continue to work with some really good builders and really good architects and really good AV guys. And, there's kind of, at this point, like I know who's good and who isn't. And it's made it much more seamless to build these houses because, I trust that person. They trust me. They know I'm going to get my job done on time. I know they're going to do what I've asked them to do, or, they've actually taken notes and refer back to the notes, which I've worked with some people who just don't do that. So, there's always outliers, but in general, the people that I work with consistently are really good. And it's...
Well, you've built relationships for years now.
I've known these guys for like 15 years, and it's like, we were kind of kids when we all started together, and now we're getting up there a little bit. But but you learn to... a lot of this job, which I don't think people realize, especially if they're just getting into interior design, psychology is a huge part of this job. And my mother was a mental health counselor, so I think it actually helps. But it's, you're navigating personalities ranging from your client could be a Fortune 500 CEO. And then within the same day, you're talking to, the plumber's assistant. And you got to be able to speak to both of those people in the way that they're going to understand and that they're going to respect. You really have to know how to pivot a little bit in the way that you speak to people, how you're getting your information across. And, just sometimes people just have different personalities, like different builders I work with have different personalities from the other. And I know how they like to receive their information versus, another guy. And so you just kind of, over time, you get used to it. And they get used to how I work too.
Sure.
And it's, and we're always kind of trying to learn and feed off of each other. And it's like, if I can do something better to make the process easier, then I want to do that because, I get a lot of referrals from architects and builders and even subs. I'll throw my name out there, and that's because I try not to run a line of interference. If anything, I'm trying to make things a little smoother and just the whole process fun too. Like, we're building beach houses primarily. Like, like, you don't have to be...
How terrible could it be?
Yeah, like, life is good. Like, let's have a little fun. As long as everyone's doing their job, you can have a little fun and crack some jokes.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I feel like some of those projects are just like bonkers crazy from one to the next. Like, and so many people are involved. That's what I was saying. Like, so many hands in the pot. So I can imagine on your end, like managing, I don't know, like who's in charge of managing all these people, but I'm sure you have to touch points with all these people at some point or another to make sure things are going to be installed right.
Yeah. I mean, the big one I would say is like during electrical walkthroughs, because that's usually like the builder, the architect, the homeowner, like myself and one of my team, AV guys, the electrician. Like, you can have 10 or 12 people there. And I generally tend to lead those, and it's like herding cats because there's like people in that room having conversations and people in that room having conversations. And I want to get one of those like tall flags that like tour operators have to like collect people, because I'm just like, guys, like, we want to get out of here in 3 hours. Like, let's keep it moving. It's
Sure. Where do you find a lot of your target audience? Like, where do people contact you from? Are a lot of them already in Jersey down the shore, or do they come from like the main line out in PA? Do they come from New York? Do they come from Florida? All over?
I would say originally it was mostly mainline, but I think now, there's like Baltimore, Connecticut. Had a couple people from Boston, New York.
Wow.
Some people, I mean, I've had people that live in California. I had a client years ago that they lived in Germany. It's kind of all over at this point.
Sure.
Because everybody has different reasons for their connection to some of those islands. Like, their family live there and they want somewhere, for their family to kind of grow up and
Sure.
enjoy their beach.
Yeah, I feel like the more I go down there, the more it's changing, whether there's new restaurants going in or, new hangout spots or whatever. There's just, every time I'm there, I'm like, oh, I didn't notice that last time, or,
Yeah.
And also just, when it's nice out and I'm like, take a break for coffee or lunch, like it's so many different, people
You
there.
take breaks?
Sort of. When I arrive early because I have anxiety usually, and I'm like, oh my God, I gotta go get coffee, and then I'm late.
So I
and
was
I'm
like
like,
half hour early. They're like, so I was like, oh my God, I can't be late. I just can't.
Well, the tornadoes aren't gonna help, so let's get you home. So you work with a team, which I know and love, all the girls that are there. So tell me a little bit about like how internal works and like who does what and how that works. I'm interested to hear like who handles what. And
Well, I have two associate designers, so there's Tori and Amanda, and they're awesome in and of their own rights. And on each project, one of them will be assigned to the project with me. So they're kind of like my right hand woman going through stuff. They help me keep organized. They help me with the design. If I can't be on site to meet a guy or sub to answer questions, they'll go. And even helping with some basic communication with the clients too, just if I'm running around doing stuff. And then aside from that, we have two women that they're work remote, but they do all of our purchasing, procurement, put all of our proposals together. And purchasing, again, I think it's something that maybe people coming into interior design out of school don't understand how important a streamlined purchasing system is to their business, because when you're dealing with thousands of SKUs, when you have a couple clients going, it can get very confusing very quickly. So
I can only imagine.
yeah, so luckily I set up with a really good software system right in the beginning that kind of integrates with our billing, and I knew how I wanted to work already. And so that got set up, and these two women helped me do that, and that's great. I mean, they're probably more important to the business than I am at this point. And I told them that all the time. I'm like, you guys are the best. And then I have two women that help with bookkeeping. So, double checking invoices, all payments, all that kind of stuff.
That is one like invoice that I get every month, and I'm like, just pay that right away.
Because I'm not doing it.
Yeah, there's no way.
Like I can yak, I can sell, I can do interior design, but like I am not a bookkeeper. And
talk about a boring job. I don't know how they just thrive on that. I don't know. Unless you own the business and you're like, okay, I'm making great money, but I could not work for somebody as a bookie. I don't know what I would do.
No. Sometimes they email me like questions about things, and I email back. I'm like, I don't know what this means. Like, I need you. And they'll laugh and be like, okay, this means XYZ. I'm like, oh, all right, now I get it. But
yeah,
it's just not something it's not my strong suit.
What is some of like your like milestones in your career? Like, you don't have to name names, but like favorite projects that you've done or favorite areas where you've done projects where you're like, wow, I'm really doing this. Because I know I've been in a few.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. I can't really pick one, because there's been jobs that I think back to, and they were so much fun. And you actually met one of the homeowners.
Oh yeah,
the one time, and we did a house for her down in Cape May Point, and it was just a great time, and it was such good energy, and the house was amazing, and the client was amazing, and it's kind of like not really been replicated since then. So, for that reason, I love that. And then, design wise, I think I've been doing quite a few spec houses the last couple years, and that's been really fun because there's not a client to deal with in terms of, what they want to see versus what I would want to see. So, I really get to kind of flex my creative muscles.
Really? So you get like almost free reign? Not free reign, but
well, yeah, there's still a developer. There's still a very strong budget.
Sure.
And there's a little bit of paranoia because you have to make sure that this is something that the general public would still want.
Sure.
You can't go too left field, something that like I think would be great, and then nobody wants to buy it.
Yeah.
Because I'm not getting the next job. So, but it's been really fun to kind of do those and just use some products like I haven't been able to use, and just get a little bit more creative freely,
Sure.
without having to like check and make sure someone's okay with it. So yeah.
Where do you find like the most focus or effort goes in on a project? Is it like the kitchen? Is it the exterior designs? Is it the primary suite? What do people like really like, hey, I love everything you're doing, but for this room it has to be something like this.
Yeah, probably the kitchen
Sure.
is like a big one. Especially if people have lived in a couple houses. A lot of people know exactly what they want and
Yeah.
what layout works for them, and I like that. I respect that. That makes my job easier than rather than guessing how they like their layouts. Like I like when people are like, "This is how
I need
we
my
live."
trash can here, my dishwasher
Yeah,
here.
and I mean, they're like, "We have to have a steam oven, and we have to," it's like, all right, great.
Yeah.
Like we'll get it done for you.
So it kind of cuts out like the indecisiveness of your decisions.
Yeah, because then, I feel like sometimes with those very practical decisions about how you live, if people lean on me too much, then I get nervous that, I'm thinking from my perspective, like how I would live in that kitchen, but like maybe they don't cook that way or, they live a little bit different than I do. So it's nice when people are like, this is what my family does.
Yeah.
I mean, even had people recently foregoing dining tables altogether and just doing massive islands because they're like, my whole family sits at the island. Like, I don't need a dining table. We never sit at the dining table. So
Yeah.
I respect that. I think that's, knowing your family, knowing how you live.
Yeah. Whenever I rent a house down the shore, which is rare because the pricing is crazy now, it's like 20 G's to stay at Jersey Shore for a week.
Yeah, I know.
I was like, I'm sorry, what?
I was like, I'll go to Hawaii.
I'll
for a
just
week.
drive there. I'll drive there and drive back every day.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But I feel like every time that we did, do that with like all of our families would get in on it or whatever. But who sits at the dining room table at the beach?
Yeah.
Like who's having family style dinner? Unless you're, I don't know, have company over or something.
Yeah,
But
I
like
mean,
the island is it. That's
I
the
guess
spot
some
to
people
be.
do, but I get the island thing. It's like more casual. People are coming and going from the beach. It's like, it's
Yeah.
kind of like an interesting development that's kind of gaining steam,
Yeah.
as we move along. So
Do you have a favorite part of a home that you like to design? Like, are you a kitchen person, more bedroom and bath, or?
I really like powder rooms,
Yeah.
like kind of off of main areas because they're not places that you're going to spend any significant amount of time.
You'd be surprised.
I mean, listen, I don't know
Do what you
your
gotta
bowel
do.
movements are doing, but no judgment. Just eat more fiber. But I think because they're kind of like little jewel boxes to me, and I feel like you can go a little bit crazy with those areas. Like, especially if I'm dealing with a client that's a little bit more conservative, I can usually talk them into doing like a really cool wallpaper or custom sink or something like that in a powder room because you're in there, you do what you got to do, you wash your hands and then you leave. You're not showering, putting on makeup, and it's not a living space.
Sure.
So you're in there like a minute or two. And especially off of main areas, I always say, people that aren't even staying at your house are going to be using this bathroom. So let's like, you're going to spend some money, let's do some cool stuff in here.
Yeah. It's probably one of the most used rooms for a brief amount of time.
Yeah, consistently, like
Yeah.
throughout the day and with company and all that kind of thing. So, whereas like maybe a bathroom off of a guest bedroom, like I would say don't make it nice, but you don't need to invest crazy money in it because who's going to see it? It might be somebody like 3 times a year sees it. But a powder room, like definitely.
I judge a lot of houses based off of powder rooms. I don't know if it's because I see so many, like in the industry that we're in. But it's just like when you walk into a powder room and someone has like sick wallpaper and an awesome like sink or vanity or whatever in there, I think that's like, damn, cool. They're showing off. I like it.
Yeah, I mean that's the place to show off. And I've had a lot of clients where I've like had to push them. I'm like, just trust me, just do this.
Yeah.
And they get to they're like, oh, everybody that comes to our house loves this. Like I love it now. And I'm like, yeah, if you're gonna take a risk, I wouldn't say take a risk with your kitchen because
Sure.
that's what you're gonna be standing in, a lot of hours of the day.
So a lot cheaper to fix if you have to.
Correct. And yeah, if you get sick of the wallpaper in 5 years, like
Yeah.
you can swap it out. It's a tiny room.
Sure. I think one of my favorite projects that I walk into, I don't remember which one it was specifically, but one of the powder rooms had like those jellyfish lights.
Oh,
Those
yeah,
were
yeah.
so sick. I've
Yeah.
never seen anything like that before to this day.
I love that bathroom.
And that was 6 years ago, 5 years ago, maybe. It was a long time ago. But I still have it like saved on a hard drive, and I came
Really?
across it before I was talking to you today, and I was like, I have to bring that up. So it's funny you brought
That's
it
a
up.
good one, man.
That was cool. What's it like in terms of working with multiple builders? I know you kind of touched on this, but like, how does that challenge like come about? Is there like very different ways that things are handled versus other builders? Like timelines working with clients? Like I know you touched on this a little bit, but dive into that a little bit more, because I feel like homeowners that are looking to build want to see what that synergy is like, or hear about that synergy and like how that that workflow plays out throughout the timeline of a project. But I feel a lot of the times I work with you, I also work with the builder, shooting with them, and I've never had a problem or any really challenges. It's always a lot of great ideas and a good like conversation flow throughout the whole project, whether, leading up to the shoot or after the shoot or during the shoot. I
Yeah.
always feel like it's a lot of fun working with the partnerships throughout the project. But I'm just curious to hear from your side, like what do you run into, or like what's fun working with builders, or, because there's so many down the shore now.
Yeah.
That's what I've seen since I've started working there. It's like I'm getting calls from a ton, and a lot of it's from working with you, which I appreciate.
You're
Thank you. But yeah, it's like, it's just cool to see like all these different people that have this like wild respect for you and your firm, and like how many people work with you. I'm just curious like what the synergy is working with all these different builders and how it plays out.
I mean, I think it just comes down to respect. And like I said, it's kind of, you work with someone long enough and you know their processes, when they want the information, how they want the information.
Do you have like meetings before projects, like that you go to one another's office and like
Yeah.
sit down as a team and be
Well-
like, all right, this client's going to be a problem, so like let's figure it
No,
out.
we don't do that. No, we don't do that at all. No, I always like having once the team is selected, so once, the architect is kind of doing their thing, and then once, if I'm selected and a builder, I like to have a kickoff meeting with the client. So basically it's just sitting, wherever someone's office, maybe it's mine, maybe it's the builders, maybe it's the architects, all of us and the client, and just kind of go through the plans. Even though there's not generally like specific questions, so many things come out of that initial meeting. It gives me an opportunity to ask questions of the builder, or it gives, the architect and the builder an opportunity to maybe let me know something about the plans that I don't know, or maybe an area that we need to focus on. There might be like a little bit of an issue that we need to kind of fix and make look really nice. And it gives the client the ability, not only to see the whole team together kind of working cohesively, but, they can ask and get feedback too. So if they have maybe a question about the plans, or they're not sure about something, we're all sitting there and we'll all kind of chime in and give our opinion. A lot of times we agree, sometimes we don't, but
Yeah, of course.
and then I also use that as an opportunity to then set up like the schedule of meetings that I have to do. So, in speaking with the builder, it's like, okay, well, when do you think you're going to knock down? When do you think framing will start? And
So
I
this
kind
is
of,
really planned out ahead of time.
yeah, I mean, if possible. And I mean, I just want to get stuff done as early as possible, because
course.
you never know. I don't like leaving things to last minute. Like I said, sometimes we do get brought into projects late, and that's fine. But in a perfect world, we're brought in when, I would say, when floor plans and schematics are maybe like 80% done. I don't want to step on architects' toes. Like, I want them to do their thing with the client
Sure.
and kind of go through their creative process. But, right before it's going to go to construction drawings, I do like taking a look at the plans, because there might be areas from my perspective that I'm like, those windows need to move a little bit further apart because they want a king bed, or maybe if we change that door swing, or, sometimes I even change the whole layout of, like a bathroom.
Yeah, like that's not going to work that way. Or
Yeah, and I'm
whatever.
like, and then I'll say, because XYZ, maybe it's something I ran into in the past, and it gives us an opportunity, or gives me an opportunity, to put my ideas down on those plans before it goes to construction set. And so then that way, when it goes to construction set and the builder gets those, I'm not, when they start framing, I'm not showing up saying like, oh, I need you to change this, and I need you to
Sure.
change. Like, everybody's on the same page. All of the changes are done, and, they can just kind of rock and roll.
Interesting. When a client outreaches, like who's usually the first touch for them? The architect, the builder, you? Like how does that flow like work?
I would say generally it's the architect first. But, that being said, I've had, if I have referrals from clients that I'm still really close with, they might talk to me first. But I mean, really, it has to go to the architect first, and then we can kind of get involved. And sometimes people want me involved from the very, very beginning with the architect, which, I'm happy to do. But generally, I like leaving it, I want them to be able to do their thing too,
Sure.
not-
Do the clients typically own the home or the lot first before they decide like, hey, we need a builder and an architect, or is a real estate like an agent come into play through some of this?
I would say most of the time they already own the lot, and
Okay.
maybe they lived in it a couple years, or maybe it's like been in the family for a while.
Sure.
But I would say actually the last like 2 or 3 years, there actually has been some like realtor driven kind of like sales of plots of land with a potential plan. That's getting a little bit more popular. And that's probably too because of, the price points of some of these lots just skyrocketing.
Saying what is like just a bare lot, no plumbing? Like for what is the average size of a lot at like say I don't know oceanfront? Like what are those lots?
It's all I couldn't even speak.
Are they all over?
Yeah, they're all there because
Really? Okay.
some of the lots are like double lots.
Yeah.
Some are kind of irregular and smaller. It's all over the shop.
Yeah, it really is. Like a lot of the homes I pull up to, I'm like, wow, that like they must have bought 2 lots here. I mean, I could never tell. I don't know the details beyond the photo shoot usually, but just seeing some of the houses. And then there's these like postage stamp ones that are vertical, and I assume you can only build to a certain height in a lot of these short towns. So it's just interesting to see some of these layouts.
And there'll be a lot of changes too. I'm not super schooled on it yet, but I know there's a lot of changes coming through New Jersey in terms of flood height elevations.
Sure.
They're going to be changing. So that's going to be mixing it up a little bit in the next year or so.
Interesting. All right. Outside of work, what do you like to do? I know some of the things, but like, what do you, when you're not working, which is very rare, I understand that, but
I'm like, what are you talking about? Like,
fun time? What?
Hang out in my office when I'm not working.
Just get a bottle of whiskey and call it a night.
Put on some music, just hang out. I am a water baby, so anything to do with the ocean. So I surf, open water swim. Just started paddling, outrigger canoe, prone paddle, like anything to do with the water. Other than that, I mean, I kind of sports or exercise in general. Like I like doing yoga, and I'll go to the gym and lift weights. Yeah, or sometimes we'll like drive into Philly and go to shows,
nice
sort of thing. So
I know you're a big music person too,
for sure.
And the music scene down in Cape May is like grown since probably before I was there, but like I've seen it like evolve. What's the Chalfont Hotel? Is that where they do the ramble?
You're gonna blow up the spot, huh? Everybody's gonna.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to. Well, maybe we can cut that out.
No,
but the music scene, like the porch parties there, in the summertime are just fantastic.
Cape May in general has, while I love music, I cannot sing and I cannot play instruments. I'm like completely musically challenged, even though I'm obsessed with music. But there's a lot of really talented people in Cape May. We were actually at the Chalfont on Saturday night, and they had like a kind of pre-St. Patrick's Day thing, and they had a couple people playing, and they were amazing. I mean, it was like we just walked into it, and it was unbelievable.
It's crazy. When I was there last summer, I had, an extra night, which is rare because I usually have to get back to this area for other shoots, but I had an extra night, and I was like, it was Thursday, and I was like, I'm going to the Ramble. I'm going to check it out because I hardly ever get to go. So I went. I dragged my godmother with me, my Aunt Sharon, and she loves it. She's Cape May, like townie, like she loves it. Since she's moved there, she's like always going out, and she's one of those people that can go out by herself. So when I'm there, it's like, let's go. She wants to go to the casino and like just go out to dinner, and I'm like, all right, let's go. So we went out, and we got there a little bit later after it started, so like it was pretty packed. So we pull up, and I'm walking up. I'm like, man, is this crowd all for this Ramble party thing? Yeah. So this is my first time there. And she's like, yeah, wait until you see it. So we walk around the corner. Like, I can see people before I'm even turning the corner. Like, so I turn the corner, and it's just the street is closed with all these lawn chairs. And, like, no exaggeration, like 70 people on this porch playing instruments. Yeah. Like, it was crazy. And people were, like, waiting to get into the Ramble, like, to play. So, like, that group of 70, they weren't all playing. I would say, like, probably 40 were. And there was other people just waiting to get into a spot to play. And it was so cool how they were, like... it reminded me of like a jam band. Yeah. Like it was just like everyone could just dump into a solo at any time. It was the coolest thing ever. I've never seen anything like that on like a local community standpoint. So what they grew there that's special.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when we started going to that when it first started, and it fit inside the King Head bar. It fit inside that room. And there would be maybe like 25 of us just hanging out. And now there's like hundreds, and
it's crazy.
You have to have cops to rope off the streets, and I'm really happy, for the owners of it. They're good guys, that's doing so well. But it's kind of like I feel like a lot of the locals are starting to be like,
this is our spot.
Yeah, like we've started going on Saturday nights because they still have music, but it's like a little more low key. So.
Sure.
But Cape May in general, I think, I live there, but I also wanted to keep my business there, even though most of our work is further north or further afield. It just has a really good creative vibe to it that I feel like a lot of other shore towns don't have.
Sure.
There's a lot of like cottage industries. There's a lot of people just being involved in the arts, like painting or pottery or music. And it's just, I like being around, being more of a city kid myself.
Sure.
I kind of gravitate more towards that sort of scene. So it's been a really nice place to be.
I always say Cape May has a Bucks County feel. It's Bucks County at the shore. There's like the tree-lined sidewalks. Like if you walk around, like maybe not Doylestown, maybe Doylestown. It kind of depends. New Hope-ish a little bit, but like there's this really similar synergy between like the people and like how they act.
Okay.
Like they're pretty mellow. They love like the arts. They love live music. So it's a kind of similar feel. But yeah, the food there is fantastic. Everything about that area. So.
Yep.
Yeah, I love when I'm
and it's open on, we're a little bit more seasonal. It's really like just January, February that we close. It's packed through December. I mean, it's like hard to find parking.
Yeah.
Crazy. Whereas the other shore towns, it's like they roll up the sidewalk right after Labor Day and it's like, boom, done.
It's Ghost Town and like Avalon, Stone Harbor.
Yeah.
I kind of hate it because there's like, is there coffee open?
There's nowhere to eat. And, we're running around different jobs and it's like, you got Wawa.
Yeah, you're like, what do we want for lunch today? And everything's closed. Yeah, it's tough. I did a shoot. Just to backtrack to Cape May quick, at the Mason Cottage, one of the investors that is partnership in there is a builder client here of mine. And he's like, I need you to go down and shoot this. You're going to love it. And I was like, all right. It was like end of October, I think. And the coziest freaking place ever. I felt like I was in an 1800s home here. And that's why I was saying, like, it reminds me of Bucks County. But the people were so nice. Like the people that like work there and own it, I guess, and take care of it. But it was just such a cool experience to shoot, like, something that they've owned for 30, 40 years plus or whatever, and see how like they manage that.
Yeah.
It was cool because
that's got to be like emotional for them,
It absolutely was. And, we sat down at their, dining room table where they have guests and feed them breakfast and lunch or dinner or whatever. But it was cool just to hear the story and like what they wanted, what their expectations were. And they were so happy with the content. I don't think they've ever done anything like that. They usually just took cell phone photos to put on the website.
Yeah.
And they were just saying like they're booked for like 2 years. This was 2 years ago. Wow. So they're just like booked out.
That's awesome.
Which is so cool. And I'm not going to say that's from the photos, but I'm sure it helped a little bit, which was just cool to hear from a local business that, is right in downtown Cape May. And they're on, I forget what street it was, but they're right there, a block from the beach. Really good food. Their cooks were awesome there that made food and stuff. I had food there, but yeah, it's cool. And I like how Cape May doesn't shut down in those like winter months as much as the other towns.
Well, I think that people back in the 70s that formed the HPC, the Historic Preservation Committee, I think, they had a lot of foresight and they kind of understood that these buildings and this architecture is what will bring people here. And it's what makes that island special. Because it very easily, had they not put up some form of protection for these homes, they would have been knocked down. I mean, people would have knocked them because they're big houses and they cost a lot to upkeep. There's multiple bedrooms, multiple bathrooms, some of these B&Bs.
There's something like 4 floors. It's crazy.
Yeah, they're huge, but it's like, it's making it work now with, being able to be B&Bs or even private families moving into them. But I'm so glad that they did that because I just feel, it would have gone the way of other islands, which, fair play to them. But I think, losing that kind of resource that Cape May had, it would have been a completely different story at this point.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people know what Cape May is, but have they been there? Probably, like a lot of them know from this area, which is weird to me because it's not that far. Yeah. And it's such a similar town. Like if you hung out here for a month, you'd be like, wow, all right, I kind of see what he's talking about. But yeah, if you haven't been to Cape May, definitely go. Any listeners that haven't been, and you can have lunch with Allison and talk about your plans.
Restaurant recommendations.
What is the best way for any listeners that are interested in potentially building a beach house? Like what's the best way to get in touch with you? Is it Instagram, email, your website? All the above.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably say go to the website that has, contact form you can send through. It also has our phone number, email address. So
and portfolio.
And portfolio. And we're actually launching a new website next week.
Nice.
Something like that. So just like a little bit of a refresh. And yeah, so if people just want to go on there, just shoot me a message. Generally, I like setting up a time to have either a phone call or if they're at the beach, let's say it's summertime. Happy to come, meet them wherever they are or take a look at their home and kind of go from there. And we can just have a chat about their project, how I work, all those sorts of things.
What type of projects are like, is there anything that's too small or too big that you don't work on? Or like what type of services do you offer in the design realm?
I mean,
like refreshers or full renovation. I know you do a lot of everything.
Yeah, we do refreshers for sure. I mean, I would say we probably specialize in new construction and large scale renovation, but doing a refresher for a living, it's fun because it's a lot quicker of a process, so it's like I can kind of get that creative fix right away. Generally, it would have to be a project where, there would be some sort of like furniture sale that we would be providing
Sure.
people. I try not to get too much into just, consultation only.
Yeah.
Just because it takes, a big amount of time and, just money's a thing.
Sure. That makes sense. Is there a budget range that you like typically work with? I don't want to throw numbers out there, but is it like there a minimum that you should, have a budget for?
No minimum.
Cool.
And, I have clients, that I've been working with for like 10 years, 11 years, and they'll call me if they need a new sofa or, and I'm happy to do it. It's fine. It's not a big deal. So there's not any kind of a minimum range, and with bigger projects like new construction or big renovations that actually have architectural plans, I like to kind of go through and we do a furniture estimate for our clients. So we kind of put a spreadsheet together based off of, what we kind of envision going in each room, like 2 sofas, 2 lamps, a rug, etc.
Yeah, of course.
Just so we can have that conversation up front, because I've seen it happen where people don't do that, and then they get into design, they design it, and then they give the client the proposal, and the client's like, oh my God, this
Yeah, there's
is
no way.
twice what our budget is. I don't want to go down that road. I don't want to waste my client's time. I don't want to waste my time. So we have that conversation pretty close to starting the project.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. And also, like, we don't want to throw numbers out there because when people see this episode, they say it a year from now, it's like, it's not going to be the same.
Different. Yeah, and
it's definitely going to be
it
different.
depends on square footage and how many outdoor spaces you have. It's all kind of up in the air.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming on. I hope people reach out to you because
my first podcast.
Ever.
I mean, are you even living in 2026 if you're not on a podcast? I don't know. Like,
the first episode I did was my first like actual podcast talking with someone.
Really?
And I used one of my close, like really good friends who's a builder client, John Gemme from Gemme Construction. He does like old home remodels,
Okay.
like really like old homes, and he's just so good at so good with clients. You would connect with him really well. He's such a great guy. But it was our like first podcast together, like both first episode, first time ever being on a podcast. And
everyone's like nervous.
we were for the
sweating,
first
and,
the first 2 minutes, but like I met him when I was bartending.
Okay.
And the conversation was just like so easy. So the more you do it, the more fun it is. And like even today, like it just feels like conversation. And I think that's the fun in it. It's like people love to listen to conversations that are educational and talk about someone that they could potentially know that's local. And you're a superstar down the shore. So a lot of people know you. And I'm super proud of your success over the short time that I've known you. And thank you for all the opportunities you've given us. And
been on the come up since I met you in
trying,
2020, right? So.
Trying, just trying to stay afloat. But that alarm sounds like it's a good time to end. So if anyone needs to reach...
is that the tornado siren?
I hope not. For your sake. I think it's just the fire. His Doyle sound's always on fire for some reason. But yeah, if anyone needs to reach Allison, you can reach her on her website. And you can find her contact information there. She is fantastic to work with. Her whole team is great to work with.
Thanks,
and always a pleasure seeing you and working with you. So safe travels home, and I'll see you later this year, maybe.
Maybe I'll get Wawa for lunch.
How about it? Thanks. Thanks for tuning in to The hOMe Show. I hope you enjoyed the conversation and found something you can take with you. If you liked this episode, be sure to follow us and subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. And if you're a local leader in the real estate, design, or construction industry and want to share your story, visit om-media.com to apply to be a guest. Until next time, remember, you can't go home without OM.